Right, so to create the birth of this channel, we're going to be looking at some entitled parents on Reddit, because loads of people have been doing that. It seems to be working. I don't know what this channel is going to be, so we're just going to do it, alright? This one's called Entitled Parent Yells at Me for Exposing Daughter to Pornography, Threatens to Call Police. That's already an interesting title, so I really, really want to see where this goes. So ED, entitled Dad, and EC, entitled Child, and SE for Starbucks Employee. So I'm a huge fan of anime, and I recently got into Miss Koyashi's Dragon Maid. There's a B in there, I didn't pronounce that. For many who are familiar with the anime but not the manga contains a fair amount of nudity, and this is why I got caught up in this mess with the Ed. So this happened a couple of hours ago. I just picked up a couple volumes of Miss Koyashi's Dragon Maid, paid, and headed over to Starbucks in the Barnes & Nobles to get a croissant to eat while I waited for the rest of my family to find what they were looking for and pay. While I was in the line, this little kid, EC, tugged at my sweater. She looked to be about 4 or 5 years old, and saw the colourful covers of the manga that I just purchased under my arm. She asked if I could take a look at them, and I said no, as there's a lot of nudity in the manga. She looked disappointed and headed back over to where our dad was sitting. I didn't think too much of it, and got my croissant and sat down, opened one of the volumes, and started reading. The ED approaches me, and this exchange happens. Hey, my daughter was interested in the book you was reading. Could you let her have a look? I'm sorry, but I don't feel comfortable letting EC look at this. This manga contains a lot of nudity, and I don't want a kid as young as EC exposed to this. ED, come on, it's just a stupid comic. Let her look at it. Man, he's getting a bit aggressive. Sir, I've already said no. I don't want EC exposed to nudity. ED proceeds to ignore my warnings, snatch the other volume I have off the table, and flick through the pages, which did not contain nudity. ED then proceeds to triumphantly call over EC and hand her my manga, promptly calling me a liar as he looked at his precious angel and smiled. However, that smile vanished when EC shows him something in the manga. You guessed it, a nude anime girl. Toru, of course. ED proceeds to cuss me out, screaming that I had exposed his precious little EC to pornography, and that I was sick and twisted soul. Luckily, one of the baristas noticed all the commotion and came over to see what was going on. SE, what seems to be the problem? This little, insert a bad word here, exposed my daughter to pornography. I want her kicked out immediately for sexual harassment. I purchased these 2 manga volumes over in the Barnes & Nobles, and they do contain nudity. However, he took it from me without my permission in order to show it to EC despite my multiple attempts. Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you and your daughter to leave. Why? I'm a paying customer. I deserve the right to stay here as long as I please. This girl should be arrested for sexual harassment. You have harassed a minor. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the establishment before I call the police. With a huff, the ED grabbed EC by the arm and dragged her out of the Starbucks, while EC was kicking and screaming, demanding for the cartoon book. Afterwards, I was given a free cake pop for my troubles. SE was very apologetic and I'm grateful for it. I eventually left as the rest of the family showed up. Didn't tell them about the encounter because they didn't know the manga I read contains nudity. Heh. What is wrong with some people, man? Not only did he steal it, like, he took it from the table as if he had the right to, but then he shows it to his daughter and is like, that's your fault. Why are you showing my daughter nudity? Oh my god, some people, they're just, Jesus Christ. Alright, this one's called Entitled Parent Wants Me to Stop Dealing with a Medical Issue. I already don't like the sound of this one. Like, these entitled parents are going too far, but let's just see what happens, I guess. A bit of context. I am terrible at titles. I have type 1 diabetes, and I manage it using a pretty neat device called an Omnipod. It's a small pod that you fill with insulin, before sticking it to your arm for 3 days. It's controlled through a remote, but the pod only lasts 3 days. This is typically fine, as I change the pod itself during the evening, so it does not mess with my day at college. However, if the pod fails, it emits a long, loud beep that will continue to sound until the pod is deactivated and replaced. I think I can already see where this is going. I want to mention that I travel to college on a train, and I normally grab a seat with a table so I can do my work, or just stretch my legs a little. The train is pretty early morning, so not many people are on the train. So it's day 2 of my 3-day pod, and I'm sat at the table with my laptop out, reading a short story. This kid, K, and their parent, EP, are sat at the table across from me, and have been fine for the duration of the travel. This kid is about 6 or 7, so bear with. That is until my pod fails, giving off an ear-piercing scream I've come to hate. Standard procedure is to whip out the remote, stop the pad, and start a new one. Filling a pod is a little complex. First, you have to take a syringe with a small needle and draw from a small vial of insulin. Then, insert the needle into the pod and fill. From the outside looking inward, it's a bit weird, but honestly, it's the best they could do. Anyway, Kay notices this and begins to look a bit fidgety. The parent looks at me, and I get the feeling something's not right. EP, what are you doing? I'm type 1. I'm filling an insulin pump. It's kinda urgent, but it won't take long. Can't you do that someplace else? Not really. The toilets are rather dirty and I don't have a lot of room to do this, and it needs to be done now. EP. Well, it's upsetting my kid. She's beginning to raise her voice a little. I'm very sorry about that, but I need to do this. I'm dependent on it. I hear nothing more, so I assume everything is alright. Until I start priming the pod. Priming is when the pod bleeds out any air from the insulin tank, as you don't want bubbles being pushed into your arm. And for some reason, it always makes a loud snap as it does. No idea why. This snap startles the little kid, who is still watching, mind you. K. Mummy, what is that? EP. Well, what was that? No clue. It's after the priming that the fun begins. The pod has to fire a needle into my arm. It's quick, but it hurts like hell sometimes, and even I jump and swear at it despite having it for about 5 years. Sorry, this might startle him a little bit. I still have no idea why I'm being so polite. I fire the pod's needle and jump at the quick pain. I didn't swear, but it was painful, so I sit and rub my arm a little. This kid did not like that. He gets very distressed, asking his mother what happened, and what that thing on my arm was. EP. Why did you startle him like that? The poor thing is scared half to death. He's very sensitive to these things. I'm very sorry about that, miss, but I need to do this. I'm insulin dependent and this pod is what keeps me alive. EP. Is everyone from your generation druggy then? Oh my god. Just reading that just actually made me really annoyed. Honestly, I would have thought that going to school would beat these things out of you, but apparently not. Me. Miss, I'm not a druggie. I have a pretty serious condition that I'm trying to deal with. I'm getting pretty annoyed now, but I wasn't in the mood to raise my voice, especially with a kid around. I can get really loud and really angry very quickly. EP. If it's so serious, then why are you doing it on a public train? I don't want K to catch your disgusting germs. Diabetes is not contagious. This seems to shut her up for all of 2 seconds before she continues. EP. Well, you shouldn't be doing something like that in a public place. Me. And why not? I was getting a little bit more annoyed. Because it may upset people. I had it. Me. Very sorry about your insecurities and baseless prejudice against people who are different, but not all of us are perfect individuals with not a flaw at all, and feel the need to call people out for helping themselves live just to please a spoiled brat and shelter them from the harsh reality that not everyone is healthy. EP stares at me. Me. I hope to God you never take that kid outside. He might collapse from all the people who are different. Imagine his face when he sees people missing limbs. It would shatter his worldview. Bear in mind, I have a younger cousin, and whenever she gets sarcastic, she puts on this overly posh, overly dramatic voice and starts acting like Freddie Mercury. Think Rarity but with sarcasm. EP does not back down. EP, how dare you talk to me like that, you little... I'm not going to say that. It's not my fault you were born a defect druggie and you're having to justify it. Noticing we had reached the final stop, I grabbed my things and turned back to the EP. Me, I'm very sorry to hear about your insecurities, but I must go off to college. Have a swell, hate-filled day. With that, I left in a sour mood and definitely a lot more deflated than I was before the incident. I honestly feel so sorry for the kid, having a mother like that, but hey, at least I got to vent some steam. Also, I never saw EP again. Turns out the train guards, one of whom was my father, had heard about the issue and had quite a word with her about manners. Nothing serious, but just a quiet word warning that if she ever did something like that again, she'd be kicked off at the next stop. This is one of the first encounters I've had with an entitled parent, but at least she didn't try to take the pod away from me so her child could play with it. Jeez, oh, that actually, like, really bugged me. I don't know if you guys felt the same vibe as me, but when she said druggie for someone that's literally, like, giving themselves the stuff they need to live, oh, man. Entitled parent threatened me for playing a video game. A bit of backstory. I'm a pretty non-confrontational person, but nothing like anxiety. I like to play video games on my Nintendo Switch because I can take it anywhere. And I'm also a teenager. Sorry for weird formatting, I'm on mobile. Now to the story. One day I decided to go to the mall with my friends while I was at the food court. I decided to take out the Nintendo Switch and wait for my friends to get their food. The EP walks up to me. I already knew there was going to be trouble. The following conversation occurs. EP. What do you think you were doing playing these demonic mind-melting games in public? Me. Sorry, but this game is completely safe. The game was Flat Heroes. EP. Don't try to mess with me. I read the news and I know for a fact that those PlayStations are corrupting teenagers' minds and are causing crime rates to skyrocket. Me. I'm sorry, but this has nothing to do with you. EP. Yes, it does. You know my children can see the mind-altering machine and knows what will happen. None of my friends have just come back with their food and ask if we can just eat while walking around, and I agree. But the EP is having none of this, and reaches for my Switch and proceeds to throw it on the ground. EP, I'm doing this for the good of humanity. Luckily nothing broke as I had a lot of protection on it. But I was still in shock. We decided to call security, but they really couldn't do anything except kicking her out with a warning. This whole exchange she kept mentioning a child, but I never saw one. Why are people just annoying, man? like why can't you stick to your own personal... But if they want to play games, they want to play games, right? It's not going to affect your kids by looking at someone's Nintendo Switch, alright? They're pretty colourful. They're like blue, red and black. Like, that's not going to demonize your child. But either way, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe and also hit the like button. And this was actually quite fun. I enjoyed making it. So I'm going to be making some more, and God knows what else I'm going to be doing. So, just, I hope you enjoyed.